Science concerns itself solely with the objective analysis of the world around us. Objectivity in every aspect of science, from our observations to our conclusions, is critical to the scientific process. But why is that? The answer lies not in common sense, but in philosophy. Science is based upon a certain branch of philosophy called empiricism. Empiricism is the world view that the only things that are known are the things that are measured, observed, or otherwise independently verifiable. There is no room in empiricism for subjectivity. Subjectivity is a difficult thing to let go of. We humans have frontal lobes, which allow us to have self-reflective thought, along with glands that secrete hormones which affect our manner of thinking. As a result, we are predisposed to form subjective opinions of the world around us, and while we may grant merit to our presuppositions on an independent basis, we cannot expect others to share our unique paradigms. The fact of the matter is, everyone in the world has a unique world view. Consider the following analogy. A goldfish living inside of a round bowl. When looking through the glass, it sees what appears to be a curved world. On the outside of the bowl, a thrown baseball would be moving in a straight line. The goldfish, however, would see a curved trajectory because of its environment. But does that necessarily mean that the goldfish's view of reality is incorrect? If it were smart enough, it could tell a person outside of the bowl that the world is distorted in a curved manner. The person on the outside would argue against this view, assuming of course that they're used to their goldfish talking. Which worldview is correct? Intuition tells us that the person has a better understanding of reality than the goldfish because he lives outside of the bowl, yet his view of reality is equally distorted. Our five senses are entirely contingent on external stimuli traveling up our synapses and being processed by our brains. Vision, for example, is merely the consequence of photons bouncing off of whatever you are looking at and entering your cornea to be processed by your brain. Everything that you see may not necessarily be what you are absolutely compelled to believe it to be, and the reason is thus. Your sight uses intermediaries, middlemen, to bring you information. You do not have the raw image in your mind. You have a model of the image. I know that this is a difficult concept to grasp, but it is the reason for which the goldfish is wrong in calling the trajectory curved, and why the human is wrong in calling the trajectory straight. This brings us to the second philosophy relevant to science, and that is Cartesian philosophy. Put forth by René Descartes, it is, in summary, the concession that we have no absolute understanding of anything other than our own existences. When we understand that nothing apart from ourselves is absolute, we can recognize that our paradigms are subjective. This is the basis of moral relativism, that there is no cosmic standard of morality, but I digress. The problem still remains of how to get people to agree whether the trajectory of the baseball is straight or curved. Every conflict in human history, both religious and secular, is a testament to this dilemma. Some people see the baseball flying in curved trajectories, others see the ball flying straight. And they ostracize and kill each other because they are certain that their view is correct. How do we fix this problem? How do we agree to anything? How can we prove anything to anyone if everyone sees the ball moving differently? The answer to the problem is a universal method of observation and a universal language to explain these observations. The method is science and the language is mathematics. Only by following through with these two empirical processes of thought can we arrive at an objective solution. But even then, we have no absolute certainty of the solution because of Cartesian philosophy. Consider the baseball analogy. If both the human and the freakishly smart goldfish can make accurate mathematical models of the baseball, both accurately able to predict the trajectory and landing point of the ball in what would be an identical mathematical model, they would no longer need to disagree about the nature of its trajectory. They understand that their observations are subjective, but when they actually measure their observations with objective principles, they end up agreeing. Now apply this to the real world. I envision a world where everyone understands that all views are subjective, and that the only veritable affirmations are the ones substantiated by objective means. It would be a peaceful world, filled with knowledge, progress, and respect. We use empirical methods because everyone can agree to them, Science and mathematics brings us together and moves everyone forward. Needless to say, religion does just the opposite. Proponents of religion allege that it brings people together, yet they overlook the fact that it is mutually exclusive and divisive. Be like us, think like us, act like us, or be ostracized. But it's even worse, because all of religion's claims are unsubstantiated by empirical methods. A person presents a personal story of what they interpret to be a divine experience, and yet provide no means of independent verification. While their alleged experience may have happened, objective analysis is lacking. The baseball may have been thrown, but no equations that demonstrate its trajectory are provided, and then they call us close-minded for not accepting that as evidence. Which brings me to my final point. Intuition is meaningless. When you point to trees and the grass outside and tell me that this beauty is evidence of God, you are presenting a fallible subjective analysis. Because the assertion of God's existence is a factual claim, it must be substantiated by objective means. When you point to DNA and call it complex, you are not explaining the baseball's trajectory. You are simply calling it straight or curved. When you witness a child being born and call it miraculous or beautiful, you are presenting a label, manufactured by your limited and fallible mind. When you call God's existence obvious, you eliminate all objectivity. Our intuition alone is not sufficient to describe the nature of reality. Consider quantum physics, which has established that over 99% of all matter is empty space. Over 99% of your body is nothingness. Intuition screams against this, yet this fact is demonstrable through indirect observation and the predictions that are formed with this basis. When a creationist recently told me that he did not believe that a skeleton made of fossil fragments found over an area of 1 mile and pieced together was legitimate, he was arguing not from a scientific basis, but from a fallible, subjective opinion. He was not an expert on the matter. He did not have a degree in paleontology, and yet he had the audacity to give his expert opinion on the matter. Only empirical, objective methods work. How do we know this? Because it's been demonstrated. Time and again, empiricism has been vindicated. If you want to prove that God is real, you must present demonstrable, measurable, independently verifiable evidence. You will find, however, that you cannot, and the reason is simple. No such evidence exists.